Okay, you guys, I feel like I'm on a roll with recording. This is probably the most I've recorded like in a few days for a long time, because I've gone a bit between recordings, especially the past few weeks. It's just been really crazy, and I also just haven't really been in the mood, but I'm kind of feeling a little energized and talking about movies, my top 10s and my top worsts, or my top 10 favorites, my top 10 worsts. Even though talking about the worst got me kind of, riled up, I've been feeling excited and rejuvenated by the conversation. And so I was already planning to talk about my most anticipated movies. There were several actually that I went through the list of movies on Wikipedia, and there were several that I wrote down, but I decided I really wanted to narrow it down to the 10 movies that I am the most interested to see. I'm interested to see several others as well, but hold on a minute. What was I saying when you walked in? Shoot. I get interrupted. Distracted. I think I was saying that I was narrowing this down to the ones I was the most excited about or interested in. There are many others that I probably will go see for sure, but they don't have the same sort of spark of interest that these particular ones on the list do. I don't have any honorable mentions. It's just 10. And so let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'm getting excited about the upcoming new year, only with regard to movies. I still have a sense of just dread and just cloud hanging over my head sort of thing. A lot of that is not just because of things that have gone on in my personal life, but also just, everything that's going on around us. I've mentioned this many times over the past few weeks, but honestly, it is really something that is just affecting me. I am not the type of person that can just feel so just like, ugh, for this long. So it really does help to talk about these sorts of things that make me excited about storytelling and good stories and good acting and good action. And it really makes me happy to talk about this with my fellow movie lovers, especially. So I will get back to the regular sort of reaction type stuff, but right now I'm on a movie discussion sort of roll. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I'll go ahead and start the slideshow. So number 10. Yeah, I mentioned in my previous video, the one about my top 10 worst movies of 2021. I mentioned that Halloween Ends was going to go on my list as well, only because I'm really curious to see how this is going to wrap up, even though I'm going into it with a sense of dread and not much optimism. Very, very differently than how I went into Halloween Kills. Well, like as I mentioned, when I went into the movie, I was already aware that there were some possible issues. But leading up to that point, I was super excited. And after that experience, I'm not as excited, but it definitely is in my top 10 list of movies that I'm most looking forward to. I really don't know what can be done in this movie to salvage the mess that was Halloween Kills. Honestly, I don't think there's any saving it, but I'm curious to see what he tries. Just like, I really don't think there's any coming back from the mess that was Kills, but we'll see what happens. All right, moving on to number 9. Death on the Nile. Initially, I wasn't super pumped about this. Of course, it kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, as so many movies have been throughout the past year plus. And I had rewatched, not terribly long, well, yeah, it's been a bit. Few months that I rewatched or partially rewatched Murder on the Orient Express. And of course, I'd seen the one from the 70s and the Kenneth Branagh one, which I do have in my digital collection. And I felt like it was a pretty solid representation of what I already knew the story was. And so then sometime within the past year, before I think before I moved into this office, I think I had seen Death on the Nile, the one from the 70s. And so I'd never really paid attention to the story before. Maybe I saw it years and years and years ago, but completely forgot the story. So it's fresh in my mind. I remember now the story. I remember who dies. I remember who ends up being the killer. So I'm going to be going into this not really surprised at certain reveals, but I'm still curious to see how Kenneth Branagh is going to craft this particular version of the story that has been, it's pretty well known. I'm sure there's been more than just these two movie versions of it, but at any rate, whatever. I'm just curious to see what he's going to do with it. And it's got different actors in there that, you know, we're familiar with, including Branagh himself. And so I'm looking forward to watching a good mystery, even though it won't really be a mystery for me. I know my daughter has expressed interest in it, so I'll probably take her to go see it on the big screen when it comes out. Okay, there's that one. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I did not think I would be looking forward to this to the extent that I feel like I'm looking forward to it now. And part of that is just because I'm curious to see where they're going to go with this. I know there's been kind of a lot of expectation or hope in different circles that Chadwick Boseman was going to be replaced as Black Panther. I have always felt from the time that he died that there's really, I just don't see how anyone can feasibly fill his shoes at playing the same character. Obviously, there will be another Black Panther. It just won't be T'Challa, right? And so, if I understand correctly, the next one is probably going to be his sister, which I know that did happen in the comics, so it's not like they're crazily changing things up, you know, with gender swaps or whatever, which I am hugely not a fan of. So I'm just curious to see where it's going to take us. I know, well, I mean, I remember in the first Black Panther, well, in the different movies that involve him and you can see his family, she's super smart. She did wield weapons and fight, but she seemed like she was more of a brainiac than an actual warrior. So I'm curious to see whether she's really going to be the one that replaces, you know, Black Panther. She's going to be the new Black Panther, or if it's going to be somebody else. So because of that growing curiosity that I have, I felt like this was certainly generating enough interest in me to include it on my list. And so it's number 8. Okay, next one. Scream. Yes, I've already bought my ticket for the upcoming Scream, which will be happening in just a few weeks. Actually, my gosh, because we're almost in January, right? We're just like a couple days away from January as of the recording of this. And I've always liked the Scream movies. Obviously, the first one was probably the best because it was fresh, it was different, new, and so that formula by the second plus movies, it's kind of the same sort of formula, right? They can't really do much different now. So it's kind of a pattern we're used to, right? But I've always enjoyed them, and so I'm definitely looking forward to this next one. Hopefully it'll be a solid story. It's coming out in January. January is not typically the best month for movies. I mean, like January, February are usually the worst movie months for big screen stuff. Now, Black Panther came out in February, I believe, of what was it, 2018, right? Gosh, it feels like ages ago. Yeah, I think it was 2018. And that movie did really, really well. So certainly there are movies that can stand out above the typical bad movie crowd. And hopefully Scream will be one of the movies that does that. So looking forward to that. Number 6, The Black Phone. I saw the trailer for this and I remember really liking the trailer, really liking the concept, and was looking forward to seeing it in the next couple months, because I think it was either slated for January or February. I can't remember, but it was early. I think probably maybe February. Then I heard not long ago they've moved it to June. So that's a bummer, but I'm still very much looking forward to it, and we'll definitely be planning tickets, listen to me. We'll definitely be buying tickets for it as soon as they go on sale. And so I mean, I don't really have a whole lot to say about this beyond what I've already said in the trailer reaction, but it just looks like a really nice, cool, suspenseful sort of ghost type movie, but also with elements of maybe some horror and thriller, stuff like that. So I hope it's going to be as good as the trailer made it look. Okay, so this is one of the few on my list that I had, well, maybe the only one on my list that I had no idea about. Hadn't heard of it at all until I was scrolling through the list of movies and saw this, and I'm like, Bullet Train, what? And I hovered my mouse over it. And they were saying, so, well, basically they were giving the synopsis for the film. The synopsis is that it's these assassins that get aboard a fast-moving bullet train. I don't know. I guess I don't know if it's going to take place in Japan or what, but they're on this bullet train, and they find out that their missions have something in common. This is the official synopsis that is listed for this movie, and it stars Brad Pitt and Zazie Beetz and Sandra Bullock. Also, the guy, looks like the guy that was in Mortal Kombat, the dude from the very beginning, and different people. Like I recognize this one guy. Shoot, can't remember what I saw him in. Oh, I think he played in Eternals, but I had seen him in something else before that, and also Aaron Taylor Johnson. So just the concept of it looked pretty dang interesting to me. And I found out that it was written by a Japanese author. So maybe the fact that it's not necessarily like something written by a Hollywood screenwriter. I mean, it's been adapted, right? So there's another name attached to it. But the original story, well, you know how Hollywood can screw up this stuff so many times. But the story sounds really cool. And I found out that this movie, what I was saying is the story looks really cool, and I found out that there is an audiobook version of the book that this dude wrote, and I think I'm going to try to listen to that as soon as I can. This is not supposed to be coming out until summertime, so I've got many months in between. So by the time I get to the movie, hopefully I will have forgotten a lot of the details that sort of seep into your brain if you read a book shortly before you've seen the film, and then you have this expectation of what's supposed to be in there. So I'm hoping that the story is going to be as good or as interesting as it sounds like it will be, and I'm hoping that the movie will be as good. So far, I have no reason to think that it won't be a fun ride, and definitely looking forward to this one, for sure. I will be watching this on the big screen, as long as, you know, it does end up coming to the big screen. Who knows, right? Because things get moved around, things go direct to streaming. Hopefully that will not be the case with this. It did say it was going to be a theatrical release. For now, we'll see. Sorry, I specifically meant to mention the director of Bullet Train. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not even going to try. I'll pop his name up here on the screen. But he has worked on a few really good action-oriented type of films, some of which I have liked, such as Deadpool 2. He was also involved in the first Deadpool. He worked on Atomic Blonde. He was the director for Atomic Blonde. I thought that was a pretty enjoyable ride. Not crazy about Charlize Theron or whatever, but I felt like that movie was exciting, fun to watch. He did John Wick. I enjoyed the first John Wick, so I'm having pretty optimistic thoughts about how Bullet Train is going to turn out. I guess we shall see. Okay, back to the video. Okay. this is the second. I had forgotten that I had this on the list. This is the second movie that I was unaware of that was coming out. It did mention that this was going to be a theatrical release, and so I'm naturally curious to see it. I wasn't super impressed with, honestly, with the original Salem's Lot movie and of course the remake, but I loved this book so much. It's my favorite Stephen King book, and I'm really hoping that this movie will be a very solid adaptation. The book itself is quite long, so I don't know, but hopefully it'll be something that's more satisfying than the other versions of this have been. I mean, the original, it's okay. The first one, it's all right, but for me, it just didn't seem to fully capture the, I don't know, the essence or just the feel of the book that I got while I was reading. I loved every moment of this book when I listened to it. So yeah, hopefully this will be as excellent as the book. Well, it won't be as good because it'll be much shorter. The book obviously is longer. Books are typically better, but hopefully this will be as enjoyable as the book was. The Flash. Yes, I'm looking forward to The Flash. They're going to do some multiverse type stuff with it, and I'm very curious to see how this plays out. I really enjoyed his character in Zack Snyder's Justice League especially. I liked his character okay in the first Justice League, but I liked him even more in Zack Snyder's version of this story. And so I'm really looking forward to this. There are other comic book movies coming out this year in 2022 that I'm maybe I'll go see them. I don't know. Like some I'm just not super thrilled about. So I don't know. I kind of doubt that I'll go see some of these ones that I'm not really excited about, but I'm definitely looking forward to this movie. And hopefully they'll be able to do it justice, or hopefully they'll be able to do his character the same amount of justice that was done. No pun intended. Oh my gosh. I keep wanting to say justice with Justice League, but what I was getting around to is hopefully they will be able to do his character the same amount of justice that was done to his character in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So it's going to kind of be cool. You know, I think I've been here. Michael Keaton's coming back. Ben Affleck, maybe. I mean, he's certainly listed up there in the cast, but I don't know. I'm going to try to stay away from as much information about this as I can. A lot of stuff I've seen is just stuff I can't avoid because, you know, you log into YouTube, you see thumbnails, you see titles, you see stuff and scroll. Scared me. You see stuff as you're scrolling through Facebook or Twitter. So I'm going to just try to be really careful because I would like to go into this as blind as possible. I certainly knew quite a bit about, let's say, Spider-Man before I went into it. I knew that his villains were going to be showing up, that the Spider-Man villains from the other two movie franchises were going to be showing up. And I heavily suspected that the others were going to be showing up. So a lot of what when I went in to see the Spider-Man multiverse type movie, I wasn't really super surprised by a lot of stuff. It was fun to see it. It was very exciting. But I would like to sort of be surprised, pleasantly surprised by the experience when I go see Flash. So I'm definitely going to try to stay away from watching anything related to it. I might even avoid the trailers. I don't know. We'll see. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I'm really looking forward to this even more than I had been. I think the trigger for sort of really bringing my interest to a higher level was the Spider-Man movie. I'm curious to see what they're going to weave into this story, and I'm hoping that it's going to be as enjoyable as the Spider-Man movie was. I recently read, I don't know if this is true or not, I hope it's true, but I recently read that the push is actually going to be to make Doctor Strange be sort of like the central figure for the Avengers, which is going to be great because previously they had said it was going to be Captain Marvel. Oh my gosh. And I hope that is not the case because I really don't like her character. But I'm really curious to see the interaction between Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch. And I'm having a feeling that she's supposed to be the antagonist in here, but I'm not so sure based on the trailer that I saw. Yeah, I don't know. You know, the trailer that they showed at the end of Spider-Man. They're not setting her up to seem, well, honestly, I don't know. I'm doubting myself. I have no idea. I don't know. This might be one that I stay away from the trailers for as well. Not sure. I don't feel as strongly about staying away from the trailer for this because I've already been exposed to one. For that reason, maybe I should have put Flash at number 2. I don't know. Whatever. Some of these things could be interchangeable. But I'm looking forward to checking out what they do with this story. And so, yeah. That's why it's number 2 on my list. Okay, number 1. Might not be everybody's number 1, but it's mine for now. Yes, Morbius. I've been looking forward to this movie for a long time. I was super bummed when they moved it from its October date to January, because I was thinking, wow, October is going to be Halloween and Morbius is going to be such a great... Now and then they moved it. I was so freaking bummed out about that. But it's coming out in January. Like I said, not the best movie month. But I'm really hoping that this is something that Leto can pull off as far as his performance. I mean, Leto's got that... I feel like he's got that sufficiently broody type of essence about him. Sort of like borderline dangerous or off-kilter or messed up, kind of like sort of the way he presents himself a lot of times in the roles that he plays. And I just feel like because of that, he is probably going to be really good in this role. I don't know a whole lot about Morbius, to be honest, but he's a vampire and it's Marvel. That's a good combination for me. Hopefully. So I'm super looking forward to it. I've been impressed with the trailers. He looks very badass in here, and he looks gnarly as heck when he's like in his full vamp form. I mean, gross. And I think it's cool, or I don't know, but I think it's a smart move. I mean, obviously this is probably what Morbius looks like, but I think it's a really good idea to make him look nastified like this. I mean, he's nasty, but at the same time, he's kind of cool. And so I like that they're not keeping him pretty when he's in his full vamp form. That's good. And I just feel like he's a really good match for just the feel that I get for the character. Just like how I always thought that Tony Stark was a great fit for Iron Man, just because of Tony Stark. Listen to me. Oh my gosh. Robert Downey Jr. I mean, those names have become synonymous. I always felt like RDJ was a great choice for Tony Stark, because I knew that the character of Tony Stark was someone who had his own inner demons like alcoholism and stuff like that. And you know what, you know, Robert Downey Jr. is familiar with that sort of struggle. And there have been other actors that I felt were just a perfect fit, like, you know, Willem Dafoe and the Green Goblin. And I feel like Jared Leto's going to be a pretty solid pick for this. I'm getting the feeling, a solid pick. Yeah. What was I saying? I'm getting the feeling that this movie is maybe, well, I think it's not highly anticipated by a lot of people. This is Marvel connected, but I'm having the feeling, is this an MCU movie? Or is it just like one of those deals with Spider-Man where it's Sony mostly in charge? I'm thinking I'm kind of getting the feeling that it's that, but just really curious to see where it's going to go. I hope that the runtime is going to be decent enough to tell us a good story, not too like short and compressed so that it ends up being disappointing like Venom. So this is going to be happening in just a few weeks. I'm expecting that tickets are going to go on sale pretty soon, because tickets for Scream went on sale like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And Scream is going to be coming out before Morbius, so I'm expecting that any day now, the tickets are going to open up for this, and I'll be one of the first ones to buy a ticket. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. And so, hopefully it's going to be good. Just like I hope all of these movies are going to be enjoyable, and I will be able to have good things to say about them. I don't like to be disappointed in movies. I don't necessarily like to talk negatively about them. But sometimes you can't help it. When things go wrong, they just go wrong. So hopefully that will not be the case with these movies, and hopefully we'll have a great movie-going experience in 2022. I'm really looking forward to going to the big screen as often as I can and making reviews and talking about stories and movies with you guys like I have been for the past, geez, it's going on 3 years now. It'll be 3 years in July that I started my channel, but 2 years since it kind of took off more, and I've been able to talk with more people about this sort of stuff. So anyway, yeah, looking forward to it. And I guess that's it for this. Got quite a bit of editing to do. Won't be as much editing because I'm not going to include trailers and stuff like that. But anyway, let me know what your highly anticipated movies are for 2022. I know that maybe a lot of you aren't maybe just you guys don't get as excited about movies as I do. But anyway, maybe you're looking forward to the movie-going experience, at least for a few films this coming year. And hopefully it'll be a good one. I guess that's it. I don't have anything else. I'm going to wrap this up. See you guys later. Adios.